Happy to welcome all of my fellow board members and call the June 25th, 2019 school board meeting to order. Whether you're in attendance here or watching from another location, my colleagues and I are pleased you took time to join us. We appreciate and applaud your commitment to partnering with us in support of our schools, our students, our staff, and our community. While the board and Brevard Public School staff members are fully committed to doing our best to ensure excellence in Brevard Public Schools, we know that our success depends heavily on an engaged and committed community to work alongside us and help us to continually improve. Thank you for being active participants in the process. Pam, roll call, please.
Mrs. Belford?
Present.
Mrs. Campbell?
Present.
Mrs. Deskovich?
Present.
Mrs. McDougall? Present. And Mr. Susan?
Present.
Please join us in a moment of silence as we mourn the loss of Corbin Graves, a rising senior at Rockledge High School. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I would like to offer my fellow board members and Dr. Mullins the opportunity to recognize students, staff, or members of the community. Let's start with Ms. McDougall.
Thank you. First, I want to remind everybody about the upcoming fundraiser for the Cocoa Choir. They have been invited to Carnegie Hall in October, and the Cocoa Playhouse in Cocoa Village is having a fundraiser for them, and I believe the date is August 10th. I think tickets will be available in July, so keep your eyes open for that. So I hope you can all attend and support Cocoa High School. Also, I was attending the NAACP annual Freedom Fund banquet, which was wonderful to connect with people again. And I was lucky enough to meet the new principal at Stevenson High School, Mrs. Fligger, and she had a meet and greet for the local community, business people, and it was very nice to meet her. I think she's going to be dynamite there. She has some shoes to fill, but I think she's going to do just fine. So that's kind of what I've done.
Thank you, Ms. McDougall. Ms. Belford?
Thank you, Ms. Deskovich. Wanted to thank the Brevard Schools Foundation for all that they do. Several of us had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to attend the Brevard Schools Foundation golf tournament, and wonderful support from our business partners, which of course helps to make lots of things possible in Brevard Public Schools, so we certainly appreciate that and want to give a shout out to all who supported. Also have to give a special shout out to two of our board members who actually got a hole-in-one on the putting challenge. Ms. Campbell and Ms. McDougall rocked it with a hole-in-one out on the putting challenge. I tried more times than I would like to count and was not successful, but they were awesome. So thank you guys for your support. Mr. Susan, you were there as well, hitting with his sledgehammer. So it was a good time and lots of good stuff happening. Last week, we were at the Florida School Board Association, and I will be getting out to you all the legislative update. We have what we lovingly call the Book of Ruth. Ruth Melton is the FSBA person that puts together our legislative updates, and it's a good-sized book. So I'll be going through and pulling out the most important information to share with you all, and I'll send it out in an email so you can glance through it. And then wanted to mention that this Thursday, we have an adult ed graduation at Clear Lake. So if any of you are available, I try to make all the adult ed graduations I can. They're a ton of fun, and I think the students really appreciate our presence. So would encourage you to reach out to Jeff or not if you're planning on attending, so they can make sure to have a gown for you since ours have been returned. But 7 p.m. Clear Lake, I believe.
Did you say Wednesday?
Thursday.
Yes, 7.
Thank you, Ms. Belford.
At
Mr.
Merritt
Susan?
Allen High School.
So thank you. First off, I wanted to say thank you to the Economic Development Council Board of Directors. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago, and we were honoring Bill McGinnis's aviation program from O'Galley High School, and he gave them a huge, so that everybody understands, the Economic Development Council, when he was trying to buy supplies and he was trying to fight up to get his program going, they gave him $35,000 out of a grant they got from Tallahassee to supplement that to move forward. So Bill came forward and gave a big propeller signed by all the kids, which was really cool to give to the EDC. Unbeknownst at that moment, Bill had a series of on-the-job training opportunities that he had for his students this summer, that the funding had fallen through, and he was telling that story right there in front of the EDC, and of course, he only needed $1,500. He raised close to $3,000 in a matter of about 10 minutes to fund those kids to go back. So a huge shout out goes to the Economic Development Council, the Space Coast's Board of Directors. That's Linda Weatherman and the crew over there. They're absolutely amazing. I also wanted to give a shout out to the golf tournament. Before you two ladies showed up, I was pretty good at golf, and now all of a sudden my game needs to be picked up because you guys are draining the hole-in-ones. I did have my sledgehammer contest against Gary Schifrin. Many people understand he's in my community, and he's known as the golfing guru of the entire area. So it was very nice last year when I beat him, and then this year he beat me. So I was out at a garage sale, and my daughter found this, and I didn't notice he was here. But since we're going to challenge each other every year, I'm going to put this for Gary Schifrin to come get because he won it this year, and then we're going to pass it back and forth every year. So this is going to be the Sledgehammer Cup. He's not here. I'm going to call him out for not being here. But this is going to stay here till he comes and gets it. So just so everybody knows, that's Gary Schifrin. He beat me, and I'm a good sport, so I'm giving him the Sledgehammer Cup for until next year. I drove by this morning and sat out there with the guys from Wharton Smith for Vieira Elementary School so that you guys know that is moving quick. They have 4 of those huge arms digging out all of the lakes around. The foundation's up. They're still moving. And those guys, I mean, I drove up. I didn't go on the ground because I have a little foreign car that would get stuck and I'd look ridiculous out there. So I sat on the paved part. They drove up. Hey, you want to come out here and look at it? I mean, they're real excited, moving forward quick. A lot of good things happening over there. And on a different note, I wanted you guys to understand something, that we did lose a student from Rockledge High School. He was on the baseball team. And a unique note, that night, the night of his funeral where everybody was at, the Rockledge High pitcher that pitches for Florida State, which was also a part of that team, pitched a shutout in the College World Series. So it was a kind of a bittersweet story to follow end around. And with all the other things that are going on in our district, I wanted to say good job, and that's it. You want me to pull this thing down, Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Susan. Whatever.
bother
is
you?
your pleasure. I don't
No.
care.
We got camera angle here.
Ms. Campbell?
All right, first of all, I wanted to thank Linda Buffum, and the professional development team for the event they put on the day after school got out on May 31st. They hosted the first year new teacher event, and I heard it was a lot of fun. And so great job, you guys, for encouraging our first year teachers and letting them have a day just to kind of breathe and reflect on how things went. I have had a little bit of fun this summer besides playing golf, which I can't really say I played golf. I just swung the putter.
You just hit a hole in one.
And got lucky. But I have had fun visiting some of our construction sites this summer. Our half-cent sales tax projects going on at Southwest Middle School. I was duly equipped with goggles and whatever you call strapped in or whatever, so that I wouldn't fall out.
Hard hat, say that.
Yeah, hard hat, had the hard hat and everything, got to go up and get an up-close and personal look at the replacement of the canopy at Southwest High School, which is about 30 feet up in the air. They're doing a good job down there. Also was able to go to Lockmar and see the replacement of some of our air conditioning units, all with half-cent sales tax money. Hoping to get some other sites in. I was able to see, this wasn't half-cent sales tax, but the replacement of the Mel High football field that's going on, and just, we have great, our team have put good contracts together with great people who are working on those projects, and then our staff that are supervising those. So I hope to get to see some of the other projects going down in District 5. We've got a lot of construction going on down at our end this summer. So thank you to those guys who let me come and visit. I wanted to thank Dr. Sullivan and her team and all of our principals and assistant principals at the secondary level, and reading coaches and teachers on assignment, and all of the leadership in our secondary schools who had their team planning. I can't remember what the official title of it was, but they all got together and just broke down data, and to see which students, a lot of our schools are A schools, B schools, but it's every population, it's every racial breakdown, it's every, our students with disabilities, our students that are economically challenged, or free and reduced lunch, are they all succeeding at the same levels? And where we're not succeeding, what do we need to do? And so I got to be a part of that for a few hours, and I know the work continued on, and it will continue, but I just appreciate the chance that they all got to sit down together and brainstorm and work together and really dig deep. Want to remind everybody that this week is the culmination of the summer Fine Arts Theater Workshop. And if you don't have your tickets yet, please go online and find them. You can find them on the BPS page. I think you can find them on the BPS Facebook page. I know I've got them posted on my Facebook page, the link. Down at Oak Alley High School, on the show times are the same. Thursday night at 7, so I won't be at the graduation, but Friday night at 7 and Saturday at 2 at Oak Alley High School, they will be putting on Fiddler on the Roof, and then at Merritt Island High School, they will be putting on Mary Poppins. So I'll be catching both those this week. I hope that you get out to support our students, because I think it's going to be 2 really great shows. That's all.
Always fun to go to those.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Dr. Mullins?
Thank you, Ms. Deskovich. A couple things. Want to express a thank you and appreciation to Congressman Bill Posey, who annually recognizes students. Did someone? No one else mention that, right?
No,
Okay.
Tina was going to.
I claimed it earlier that I was going to share, but you go right ahead.
I missed that. I can't retreat now. Congressman Posey bestows upon a senior every year at our high schools the Congressional Medal of Merit. And these students are chosen because they demonstrated exemplary citizenship and academic excellence throughout their high school careers, and displayed an outstanding sense of service to their peers and community. And our administrators in our schools nominate these students. So I would appreciate going through the list and recognize them one more time. Our students across the district who are recognized: Ms. Gabrielle Maggard from Astronaut High School, Mr. Jacob Sickles from Cocoa High, Heather Hartz from O'Galley High School, Madison Mercer from Heritage High, Sydney Clark from Merritt Island, Sebastian Fogel from Rockledge High, Tessa Dembski from Space Coast, Chancellor McGriff from Vieira High School, Nathan Johnstone from Bayside High, Brittany Stanley from Cocoa Beach, Logan Mendoza from Edgewood, Taylor Aldega from Melbourne High, Brandon Harcourt from Palm Bay High, Kobe Thompson from Satellite, Sydney Atchison from Titusville High, and Smriti Sanjay Gopal from West Shore Junior Senior High. It was just such a prestigious ceremony for our students. Of course, Congressman Posey was there, and families were there. It was just a beautiful recognition of our students' accomplishment. And last, I'd like to share that I had the genuine pleasure of being a guest speaker at the Summit of Seven conference a couple weekends ago. The Summit of Seven is in its 27th year, I believe. And it is a collective of our faith-based community, particularly in the University Park area. who challenge men in the church to identify 7 younger men to bring to this conference, and it's about coming together around growing up, mentoring up, and building up young men to be leaders in our community. Just that there were almost 500 attendees. It's grown from less than 200 27 years ago to 500, and the energy and the synergy and the positivity and the support from the community, sponsors from Microsoft to the Brevard Schools Foundation, was just such an impressive demonstration of what our community is about, and it was a privilege to be a speaker at the event. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mullins. That sounds like a good opportunity.
I just have one. It seems so late now because it was weeks ago, but we haven't had a school board meeting in a few weeks. And it's to the teachers and staff at Indiana Elementary School that put on, it's the fifth grade teachers that put on Ellis Island Day at the end of every year. They've been doing it for at least 20 years. I believe your children went there, Dr. Mullins. I'm sure they experienced Ellis Island Day. And you know, for my older son, who is now graduated, it's one of his favorite memories of elementary school, and now my younger son was able to experience it this year. It's such a tradition there, and the kids learn so much hands-on. They dress in period time clothes. The volunteers were all asked to speak foreign languages, so when the kids arrive to Ellis Island, they can't understand what's going on. They go through the whole process of getting their passport checked, and there's errors in it, and they get yelled at in a foreign language, and they get upset, and I think they're told they're not going to pass. If they don't get through Ellis Island to America, they don't pass the class, and so they have the anxiety of not getting through a little bit, and it's such a phenomenal thing, and they've stuck with the tradition, and it's super impactful, and I just want to give them some recognition for their hard work. It's not easy to pull that all off for a day learning experience, and that is all I have. Oh, Ms. Belford, do you have something else to add?
I apologize. One important thing that I overlooked. Happy belated birthday, Ms. Daskovich. We have not been together since your birthday occurred, and I know that we were I think in our cone of silence at the time. So, happy belated birthday to you. I hope you had a great day.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Sing that.
Okay, this brings us to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Mullins.
Ms. Deskovich and members of the board, on this morning's agenda, we have administrative staff recommendations, 22 consent items, 5 action items, and 10 information items. You also have the yellow supplemental agenda, which are changes made to the agenda since being released to the public on Tuesday, June 18th. Item A7 on administrative staff recommendations, F10 on student expulsions, as well as F27 on O'Galley High School additional design services, and G32 on purchasing solicitations. Each received a revision.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Belford, second by Mr. Susan. Please, any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Mullins, will you please let us know about the administrative staff recommendations for today?
Yes, there are 8 persons on this agenda item for the board to consider.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Ms. Belford, second by Ms. McDougall. Any discussion?
Just I'm gonna pull my things or no? No, we're not.
We're approving administrative staff
Got it.
recommendations.
Got it.
Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Mullins?
At this time, I would like to welcome and congratulate first administrative appointment, Ms. Sandra Marinez, on her reclassification and transfer from the position of assistant principal at Enterprise Elementary School to the position of principal at Sherwood Elementary School. Congratulations.
First, I'd like to thank the board, Dr. Mullins, Ms. Klein, Dr. Sullivan, for this opportunity. I am thrilled to be a part of Brevard County Schools. I've grown up in Brevard, and I went through the school system, so I'm a product of Brevard. And I've spent the last 20 years in Brevard County Schools as an educator and learning leadership, and I'm just so very grateful. I'd like to thank my family today who are representing me. There are many, but for the 2 that are here, my sister Erica, thanking the Brevard County Zoo for releasing her for this celebration, and also my daughter Alethea. I'm just so proud that they're here to do this with me. I'd like to take a special moment to thank all of the directors that I have worked under and alongside. They have really prepared me for this position, given me many opportunities and gentle nudges along the way. So thank you so much, and to all the principals and assistant principals as well. And a shout out to my enterprise staff. Love you, and thank you for such. The last 3 years have been amazing, and the growth amongst all of us has been phenomenal. And a special thank you to the Sherwood staff who came out today. What a warm welcome. I really appreciate all of you. And to my new assistant principal, Ms. McDonough, I'm just thrilled. I can't wait to be an Archer, and I'm honored to be a part of your family.
Congratulations are also in order for Cole Mannes on his reclassification and transfer from the position of teacher at Heritage High School to the position of 10-month assistant principal at Central Middle School. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the board, Dr. Sullivan, Ms. Bowman, my wife, Mr. Alba, especially Dr. Harris. He's been the principal of the only school that I've worked at. I worked at Heritage High School for 9 years, and that was home. And it's been nice to learn there and go to other places. I feel especially fortunate to be placed at Central. I did go to Central back in the day at the exact spot. And one of the most poignant life memories happened to me there where a student who wasn't very popular was being bullied, and I saw it happening, and I saw the fight that happened and everything, and I didn't do anything about it. It's something I can never go back and change. It's something that's haunted me for a long time, but it's also something I've used for a moral beacon that does pop up at certain times in my life. And to be able to be at the exact school where that happened and march the kids to the exact spot where I made life-altering decisions is something that I'm ready to undertake, and it's going to be a very great tool for me. So thank you very much for this appointment, and I will do my very best to make you all proud.
Next, we congratulate Andrew Hoppenbrower. How'd I do?
Perfect.
All right. On his reclassification and transfer from the position of teacher at Jackson Middle School to the position of 10-month assistant principal at Merritt Island High School. Congratulations.
Thank you. I want to thank the board and Dr. Mullins and Dr. Sullivan for this opportunity. I'm also a Brevard County school product from Ocean Breeze to Delora to Satellite. I had the pleasure of working at Satellite High School for a large chunk of my career under Mark Elliott and Eileen Hare and Doug Cook and Kevin Ryan. And I want to thank them for the push to go back to school, to give me leadership opportunities. And then I'd like to thank at least two ladies that are here from Jackson, Mrs. Susan, Miss Shockley, and Mrs. Donahue, my dear friend and mentor at Jackson, for giving me all the growth opportunities that they could find while I was there at Jackson for the year. And then I'd like to thank, obviously, my family and my wife, who's with my son in the back, for dealing with me being busy all the time. My dad is here, my mom and my mother-in-law are all here to support me. And then finally, I'd like to thank Mr. Raymer over at Merritt Island for the opportunity he's given me to continue to grow. And I'm looking forward to being a part of the Mustang family. So thank you.
I have to do a special thank you to Mom and Dad Hoppenbrower, Brewer. Thank you for raising up a son to serve our kids.
He's also an FSU fan, Dr. Mullins.
And an FSU alum? All right, go Knowles. Congratulations to Stephen Link on his reclassification and transfer from the position of teacher at Heritage High School to the position of 10-month assistant principal at Vieira High School. Congratulations.
First off, go Gators, most importantly.
All right, moving right along.
Thank you to the board. Thank you, Dr. Mullins, for this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. Another Brevard County public school product. I was the first class at Kristen McAuliffe Elementary way back when that opened. I was in kindergarten the first year that opened, and then I went to Southwest, and then I may have gone to a private school for high school, but that's okay. Thank you so much to Dr. Harris I've been at Heritage for 10 years and 6 years with him and his leadership and helping me grow from a teacher and a coach to giving me every possible opportunity I could ever ask for and then a little bit more to get to this point right now. It's been an unbelievable journey. It was hard to step away from coaching, but I'm excited for this next opportunity to grow in the Vieira community and help them in any way possible. Thank you to Sarah Robinson, my new principal, for giving me this opportunity, one that I've wanted really bad all year long, and I'm just excited to do it. Thank you to my dad for years and years of support in every facet of the word of support, and to my beautiful wife, Brooke, for helping raise our 2 boys at home while I'm off chasing down kids and getting my master's and maybe doing a few other things on the side. But I'm so excited for this opportunity, and I look forward to serving this community in any way possible. Thank you.
And likewise, Dad Link, thank you for raising up your son to serve our kids. Moving on, we congratulate Miss Vivi Finnerson on her reclassification and transfer from the position of teacher on assignment at Heritage High School to the position of 10-month assistant principal at Merritt Island High School.
Good morning. I'd like to first thank the school board for your appointment. I am also homegrown Brevardian. I graduated from Old Gallery High School, so go Commodores. I'd also like to thank Dr. Harris, who encouraged me. He kind of got on my nerves sometimes, but anyway. But that was the teaching moment as well. Everything's not going to always go the way that you think it should. But anyway, I'd like to thank him again. Go Big Blue, but I'm no longer going Big Blue. I am going Mustang. I'd like to thank James Raymer for accepting me. And we're going to have fun, trust me. And then my dad, excuse me, I've been sick ever since I've had that interview. But anyway, again, I'd like to thank my dad and his wife, my stepmother, Shirley Finnerson, James Minus. I was expecting to see him here. He's also been inspiration for me. He's pushing me, encouraging me to go higher. And Dr. Sullivan, I've known her forever. So I'd like to thank everybody, and I'm looking forward to being a Mustang. Thank you.
Again, Mr. and Mrs. Finnerson, thank you. Very proud of your daughter, as I know you are as well. And also, I can't pass up that was, I think, the 3rd appointment we've had so far, coming from Heritage High School under the leadership of Dr. Harris. So Dr. Harris, thank you for providing those professional growth opportunities, even more than they may have wanted, to get them ready to serve students and families, community at other schools. So appreciate your leadership as well. Go Big Blue. Congratulations to Niam Torlak on his reclassification and transfer from the position of teacher at Bayside High School to the position of 10-month assistant principal at Vieira High School. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Mullins. Thank you, school board. I'd like to thank my mentor from Bayside High School, Miss Lena Weibelt. She gave me all the opportunities for growth, and I really appreciate those. I would like to thank the staff at Bayside High School who accepted me and gave me those opportunities as well. And then I would like to thank Ms. Robinson for giving me this opportunity to become a Hawk at Vieira High School. And finally, I'd just like to thank my family for putting up with me this whole time.
And finally, congratulations to Dr. Michael Miller on his appointment to the position of Director of Transportation. Mr. Miller has been serving in the capacity of Acting Director of Transportation, and I think he has now officially failed retirement as a former Brevard Public Schools principal for many years to serve us as the Director of Transportation. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Mullins. I want to thank Dr. Mullins and for the board and for district staff for taking a look at me. I want to thank Ms. Theddy, Dr. Theddy, for calling me one day when I was just out of the blue sitting at the doctor's office. And she twisted my arm, and you're right, I am officially failed retirement. I have been back since January, like he said, into transportation. It has been a learning curve that I have thoroughly enjoyed. I spent almost 37 years at the school level And now I'm seeing this school district at a different position, and I'm really enjoying it. And we're hoping to make a big difference in transportation services for our students and our schools. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of you. What I loved about that was several of you were homegrown graduates from our own schools. I think I like to watch that happen. We are now onto the public comment section of our meeting. Though School Board Policy 0169.1 limits to 30 minutes the portion of the meeting during which the public is invited to participate and provide public comment, the policy further provides that this time limit may be extended by a board vote. We have 5 speakers signed up this morning. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. We have a clock in front of me to help you keep track of your time. When your time is over, you'll be asked to stop and allow the next speaker his or her turn. Always keep in mind that reasonable decorum is expected at all times, and your statement should be directed to the board chairman. The chairman may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when time is up, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Should an individual not observe proper etiquette, the chairman may request the individual leave the meeting. Let's all encourage an environment appropriate for our children who may be present or watching from home. Let's begin with our first 3 speakers, Mr. Bradley, Mr. Colucci, and Ms. Skipper. Before speaking, if you could state your name, the organization you represent, and identify the topic that you will be discussing. Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
My name is Ron Bradley. I live at 110 Orange Avenue in Rockledge, Florida. Good morning. First thing I'd like to talk about is something that's really on my heart. I don't know why I'm here. My only real goal is to live each day for the fullest and try to honor God and encourage others. What the future holds is firmly God's hands, and I'm happy about that. I got a few things I'd like to share with you. Company I work for, if you'd ask the president of the company what he would say, and he says, I don't pay good wages because I have a lot of money. I have a lot of money because I pay good wages. And I was very disappointed yesterday about what happened. I spent about 3 or 4 hours Saturday going on the internet and looking what some of the board did in the community. I was very proud of that fact. But at the same time, you got to realize, you got to spend money to make money. You can't run a school system on dimes and nickels when you need dollars. Another thing, it's good to have money and things money can buy, but it's good to check once in a while and make sure you haven't lost the things that money can't buy. What does a corporation do when things go south? They start reducing overhead. And I think we got a lot of overhead where we shouldn't. And I don't know how to find out who's what, but I don't understand when you got teachers that have to have a certificate to teach, then you got people out of the district office going out and telling the teachers how they should teach. Let them do their job. Let them teach the way that God wants them to teach. And if few people would spend as much money, much time going out to the schools and talking to schools, spend some of that time up in Tallahassee and telling them people that you need more money for your school. My taxes is going to go up, but I don't care because it's investment in the future. You gotta spend money to make money. Now, 2 and 2 made 4 when I went to school, but some reason or other here at this school board, 2 and 2 is making 5, and I don't understand that.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Mr. Colucci?
My name is Anthony Colucci. I'm the president of the Brevard Federation of Teachers. Mr. Susan, on behalf of our teachers, we want to thank you for staying true to your word on increasing teacher pay and, more importantly, voting on behalf of the best interest of students yesterday. Thank you. That trophy is in the right spot today. We appreciate that you had the courage to ask sincere questions of your CFO and not accept her flawed analysis without question. For the rest of the board, it is now clear as day as to where you stand on the issue of teacher pay when you're away from the campaign trail. We will point to this vote every time you want to tell us how much you appreciate teachers. You actually probably are best off just avoiding that lip service. Even when a neutral party tells you that you can afford a raise and it's in the best interest of students to give that raise, you chose to pad your budget. Even when your CFO comes to a meeting completely unprepared to answer your questions, you fell in line to maintain the status quo. Perhaps most concerning is that you wouldn't even accept the facts the union presented and verified by a neutral party when there was nothing presented to dispute them. It's simply appalling that you think teachers are going to be baited by promises of some great raise next year. How many years in a row can you say that? I'm counting 3 right now. I'm not sure how you can even believe that at this point. It's unfortunate that yesterday marked the day that this school district will begin its descent to rock bottom. I know for most of this board, apparently saying I didn't bring information is more credible than actual data, but just a reminder to the public, there are about twice as many teachers resigning or retiring this June as there were last June. And that's just a fraction of what we'll see in July and August. There were 81 instructional vacancies last Wednesday. Your actions took a sledgehammer to teacher morale. Teachers will start the year with continued protest and resentment towards much of this board and superintendent. How do you pass a sales tax in 2020? Are you really going to ask teachers to support that? Some of you are fond of bragging that at the last second you decided to support the half penny. That's cute, but teachers like me actually actively campaigned for it. I won't be doing that again. Perhaps most disturbing is that some of you wanted to do a political punt by bringing up millage now. Too little, too late. Teachers and taxpayers don't trust you. The course that you set is terrible teacher morale, low wages, unfilled teaching positions, a failed effort to renew the half-cent sales tax, and additional millage that doesn't even get off the ground. The public will vote you out of office. The new board will hire a new superintendent, one who believes in holding staff accountable, and eventually we will rebuild this district into a better one where every classroom has a certified teacher and one who gets compensated as they should be.
Thank you, Mr. Colucci. Ms. Skipper?
Good morning. At one of the recent meetings, I talked about teachers needing to be turnkey ready on the first day when students walk through their doors. We are expected as professionals to have a welcoming classroom and a plan in place to build a classroom culture built on trust and standards-driven instruction. We are expected to have our objectives, standards, and lessons ready to go every single day. We are expected to anticipate challenges and adjust our instruction, oftentimes on the spot. We are expected to be on time and prepared for meetings, and when we are not, we are reprimanded. Are the same things happening to every employee in this district? I lost count of the times that I heard, "I don't have that information," yesterday during the legislative hearing. Since when is being ill-prepared for your job appropriate? Since when is it okay to show up to a hearing on such an important topic as teacher pay without your current budget? We have sat with teachers this year in disciplinary meetings for not having data ready for meetings or for being late for meetings. Is discipline happening at all levels? or just for teachers? And also, why was a CFO of Brevard County who makes over 6 figures a year never asked to boot up her computer and bring the information you needed? Are you telling me that in 2019 there was no ability for her to have a laptop to access the necessary information, or that during the recess she couldn't have walked to her office, which is in the same building, to get that information? Another phrase I want to discuss is credit rating. It seems the district is very concerned about its credit rating, but not at all concerned about its teachers' credit rating. We have teachers who can't buy houses in the community in which they teach. We have teachers who are barely staying above water financially while watching their credit rating sink. Here's a message I received about yesterday. I'm currently trying to refinance my house. My issue is I have max credit cards, I'm single and caring for my 96-year-old mother. I'm just paying principal. My bank rejects me because of my debt ratio to income. I needed the increase from the magistrate. I can't keep up with less than cost of living increases. I'm screwed because I can't retire and stay in my own home. My doctor has put me on blood pressure meds. I have been a teacher in this district for now 13 years. I am that average year of experience that we talked about yesterday. And if I didn't have a master's degree, I would be that $43,000 median income. And if I had chosen Orange County, I'd be making $11,000 more than I do now. And during that 4-year pay freeze that was projected on the screen, I lost my house because I couldn't refi, because I was an annual contract teacher with an income that wasn't steady. You guys had the choice to do better yesterday, and you made the wrong choice.
Thank you, Ms. Skipper.
Our next two speakers are Chris Vassis and Jency Lee.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Chris Oravassis. Chris Oravassis, Inc. I believe I sent you all an email, except for Mr. Mullins, regarding my situation with the vendor list, okay? I just asked that you at least check into the type of service that I give and the quality of the service that I normally give. Yes, like any company, I'm going to have issues. You're not supposed to, but you know, when you're doing 50, 60 trips a month, you're going to have issues. You're not going to please everybody all the time. So I'd really appreciate if you look into it in depth with some of the people that I put as references. All right? Thank you very much. And I appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vassis.
Jency Lee.
Good morning. My name is Jency Lee, and I am a music teacher at Holland Elementary. And I'm here because something that touched me yesterday from the meeting. I have been working with Brevard Public Schools since 2002, and my husband has been working since 2001. We are loyal to this public school. It is our passion, you know, to be who we are to these kids. And so as music teachers and teaching the arts, you know, we teach compassion for kids, to kids. So they eventually, hopefully, will grow up to be one that continue the humanity, you know, for the next generation. And with the, you know, either transparency or not from yesterday's meeting, something was thrown out about the strings program. And I don't know if, you know, I'm sure you are aware that the strings program in Brevard County touched many lives in this county. And not only that, but it is recognized statewide, highly recognized in the state of Florida, and also nationally, you know, with festivals like Music for All, National Orchestra Festival competitions, and the Midwest Band Clinic competitions. So, you know, that comment affect some of us who are in the room, because, you know, we worked hard, and I know all the strings teachers worked hard. They are they have more on their plate than regular music teachers. But I just want you all to understand that their job is very important. You know, I am not here to, you know, defend my husband's a string consultant, but not just that, but his colleagues from Titusville all the way down to, you know, Heritage, and every single one of them deserve the respect and recognition that their job is important. Another thing for last 45 seconds, I'm from Malaysia, and growing up in Malaysia and in Singapore, seeing the education there, their budget line one is teacher salary. And then, because they are, you know, in the class, they are there, they are the human in the classroom, be with the kids and affecting all these kids mentally and emotionally and, you know, with their academics. So I want you all, you know, moving on to the next budget meeting, you know, teacher salary, if you know, that if you take care of that, have faith and be courage and go out and find money, just like we all do when we need money for our funds, you know, like Ms. Tina Daskowicz has been going out to do the, you know, giving out the bridge builder. We go out to solicit, you know, ask for donations for our programs for the kids. So I hope all of you will do that, you know, have the courage and have faith that it will be there. You know, with Boeing moving in, there'll be a lot of monies coming in. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Miss Lee, I want to respond to a little of what you said. We know, at least I know, that you are an amazing music teacher, and we are grateful for your dedication. I appreciate your comments. I just want to clarify Ms. Campbell's comment yesterday. What we ultimately voted for was to make sure that those areas of things that I was talking about with social work, as Ms. Campbell was talking about with the strings programs, would be protected. We felt like the four of us felt like we were going into risky areas. And I know we can all disagree on that all day, but we felt like if we went that extra $6 million, we didn't know where we were going to cut that from. And so she was saying, I can't get near, I don't want to touch strings. I was saying I don't want to touch social workers. People yell at us for board priorities. We each have these priorities, and that's what she was saying. So your strings program is absolutely safe with the most recent vote. So please don't worry about that, okay? Thank you. Mr. Susan, did you want to share?
Yes, I just wanted to say that there is absolutely no looking right now at cutting any of those said programs by any single member on this board or the superintendent in any way. You can rest assured that I hated the fact that you went home thinking that it was not what their direction was in any way. So if that helps you, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Susan. Any more comments for the public speakers before we move on? Ms. Belford.
Did you want to speak as well? No? Are you sure?
Ms. McDougall, do you want to start? Okay. Ms. Belford.
So just a couple of comments that I think are important for everyone to hear. Be assured that the feel-good, easy vote yesterday would have been to support the magistrate's recommendation. It would have been much easier for all of us to have done that. We would have had a much better afternoon, a much better morning today, and the unfortunate thing is that we would not have had a much better next month or the month after when we started looking at cutting things like the strings program, like our social workers, to make up the deficit in those dollars. I'm not done yet. It is true. For several reasons, those of us who voted to support the superintendent's recommendation did so because we're looking at the long haul. But I think what has not come out in this discussion is there was a mention of teachers starting the year with continued resentment. There was a message of how do we expect to get the sales tax, and that we should put the budget, the first line item in the budget, as teacher salary. 3 weeks ago, the district went to the union and requested that they come back to the table so that we could discuss not only this year's money, which is limited because, recall, we had a 47-cent base student allocation increase this year. But within the past month, we have received next year's budget, and so we know we have additional dollars for next year. We are eager to make that the very first commitment in next year's budget by going back to the table right away. We are eager to meet the magistrate's recommendation without putting programs in the district in jeopardy. And we are looking forward to moving forward in doing that. We don't want teachers starting the year with resentment. We want to wrap this up. We want to get money into the hands of teachers as soon as possible. And that has been our goal, and that continues to be our goal. But in order to do that, we have to come back to the table and we have to discuss how we get there. Next year, we have a $151 increase in base student allocation, which gives us the flexibility to make commitments that we couldn't make this year. So please understand that none of us up here feel great about the decision that we made yesterday, but we had to make it in the best interest of the long-term sustainability of the district. And we have a plan to still take care of our teachers and get them to that amount. But we've got to get back to the table and have that discussion. And that is our plan from our side. There is no one up here that doesn't want to give teachers as much money as we can possibly give them. But we have to work within the constraints that we have. We can get there tomorrow, quite frankly, but we have to work together to get it.
Mr. Colucci, please quiet down. Can I say something?
Mr. Susan.
I agree with the sentiment that each one of the individuals that sits up here at this dais does want to give the teachers as much in their possibility that they can. I would say that the financial stability of the district, in my opinion, could have been offset by some of the numbers that we were receiving, along with the $9 million of reoccurring funding that we have coming in next year. So if in the event that we could not find the funding this year to do what you say, I felt like the $9 million of reoccurring next year, that was the main point. I feel that this is something that I think a lot of people have split hairs about, because I do believe, and I've said it publicly over and over again, that every one of you tries to do the best that they can, and that Dr. Mullins' heart is true. It was a difference of how to get there, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Susan. Ms. Belford.
I agree with you, Mr. Susan. I think we're on the same page on that. I think where we vary on that is we can't commit dollars from next year's budget for this year's issue, which is why it was so important that we be able to have the conversation and go back to the table so that we can address what we're doing next year. And I think that you would agree that had we gone back to the table, we would have all been where we wanted to be at this point. So that's my only encouragement, is that we keep that in mind going forward, and the sooner that we can do that, I think the sooner that we can address some of the concerns that have been brought forward by the community and the teachers.
And I agree with you, Ms. Belford, and I would remind the board that Dr. Mullins, multiple times in his statement in paper, along with what he said over there, was that we were looking at next year's funding, which allowed us to free up reoccurring dollars that gave us the extra money for this year. So I was only asking to continue that same thread of thought, where we were looking at next year's revenue to gain for this year. And we could have got to that point per the reoccurring dollars that we had, and that was my point.
Thank you, Mr. Susan. Thank you, Ms. Belford. Does Ms. Campbell or Ms. McDougall?
No, Ron, you can't talk. You got your 3 minutes.
The board wishes to thank our public speakers. We appreciate your participation in our meetings. This moves us on to the consent agenda. Dr. Mullins.
There are 22 agenda items under this category, one with prior information.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to
Does
approve.
any board member wish to pull any of these items?
If I can pull F11 and F14, please.
Pam, will you please pull F11 and F14? I will entertain a motion to accept the consent items with the exception of the items F11 and F14, which have been pulled.
So moved.
Second.
Motioned by Ms. Belford, second by Ms. Campbell. Is there any discussion on the consent items that were not pulled? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Susan, let's move on to F11. We need a motion on F11.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Susan, second by Ms. Belford. Open for discussion. Mr. Susan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm taking a look at this, and this is a perfect example of how we can raise funds throughout the district. Our advertising group went out and worked out this sale for the rental of the name of the stadium. My point today, and Dr. Mullins was in full agreement in our one-on-one less than a month ago, was that we have talked up here about raising local revenue through advertising dollars for years. And we just don't seem to get the curve because we got so many things going on. We proposed that we go out to an outside advertising agency. They collect a small percentage of it, but we have literally a lot of money just sitting that we don't collect every year. Naming of stadiums, we can put up signs that are appropriate to that. We have frontage on 95s. We have main drives that you can put up. I mean, we can wrap our maintenance vehicles. There's an entire plan that we've already looked at, multiple ways of recovering this revenue. And I just wanted to make sure, because I didn't want to speak to Dr. Mullins out of turn, that the rest of the board's on board with moving towards something like that. I had already given Mr. Matt Reed a call and just said, hey, I'm going to pull this thing. I called him last week when I was looking at the budget or the agenda, and he said he agrees wholeheartedly and they're moving in that direction. But I didn't want to be like a lone wolf pushing an outside agency. We have an issue that we don't want to pay somebody to be doing that because, one, we're not the best at that, and one person that we would cost would not be able to do the rest of it. So go out to RFP, do whatever it is.
Mr. Susan, I recommend that we either put that on the next board retreat or board workshop and ask staff to come forward with some suggestions, ideas, opportunities, and let us have hash that out on, I'm sure there's concerns about what type of advertisements we can allow and not allow and different things, but I'm ready to dive in and discuss that if the rest of the board is. Everybody feel good about that? Dr. Mullins, can you
Ms.
please?
Deskovich, just to acknowledge, at a previous board workshop, there was interest as well, and Mr. Susan and I had follow-up conversation a couple weeks ago. I am working with staff to develop a proposal or a study of what opportunities are out there and what they could present. So we'll be planning a workshop in the near future, but we can certainly have some additional conversation at board retreat.
Perfect.
And if we can sort of work towards an aggressive, not an aggressive, but some kind of a date where we say, okay, we're either going to do it or we're not going to do it, and here are the rules by a specific amount of time. And I only ask that because I am guilty of it too for not following up, but I've been up here for almost 3 years now, and I haven't gotten it across the finish line.
Understood. Dr. Mullins, can you give us a tentative when you might have something to show us? A month? And we're not putting pressure like it needs to be next month, but just give us an idea.
I don't
like
mean that at all. I just, whatever it's going to take for staff to get it forward, if we can just get a time.
I'll review with staff and give you a tentative date by the end of the week.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we have a vote on the approval of the...
Are we ready to vote? Is there any more discussion? Please vote on item F11. Do we need a voice vote, Pam? No, oh, it's on there. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. We now need a motion for F14.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Susan, second by Ms. Belford. Open for discussion, Mr. Susan.
Yes, ma'am. I would ask the board to go to the item and pull up the financial statements and move to page 19. It was something that I was trying to state, and I just wanted to kind of follow up with it today since it's one of the agenda items, not in any way against this item. So if you go to item F14, go to page 19 at the bottom, it should say Capital Projects Fund compared to 2017 to 2018 as of April 30th.
Hold on one second, Mr. Susan, because
Sure.
I only have 7 pages on my document. Here we go.
Say what page again? I'm just getting it open now.
19.
Page 19. Okay, I'm there.
Are we good? Everybody okay? We're all there?
Yep.
Yes.
So what I'm looking at specifically is if you look at the local sources, go down to April 2018, we received $83,785,398 last year as of this time. This year as of this time, we have $100,147,156. That is a net increase of $16 million in local sources. This was one of the points that I was trying to make, that our local revenues are moving up, and here's a document that I can show. Also, the other fact that I was trying to get at, if you look down at the end where it says ending fund balance and beginning fund balance, now this is our capital projects, we had an ending fund balance of $107,777,623, and we are now at $108,861,513 for a total.
My
I'm sorry.
end says, I'm on page 19. Yeah, we're not looking at the same numbers at
How
all.
am I looking at it
I'm looking at the same
completely
thing you are.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, I
Obviously
just
you
want to
guys-
make sure I'm following on. I am on page 19.
Are you looking at the bottom page or your page on the right?
Mine says ending balance 62,929. Yeah.
That's 18. It's just because the
Oh,
PDF.
I was rolling 19. I
Yeah,
did
I'm
them in.
sorry.
That's okay. No, it's my fault.
Does
Okay.
does that make sense? So if you look at the bottom, I'm sorry, so for the individuals that couldn't pull it up, because it was, I apologize, saying the page that was on the PDF, not on the thing. If you look at the local revenue, even our state revenue, all have increased from last year to this year. If you look at April 2018, you have local sources from 83 million to April 2019 of 100 million. If you look at state sources, you have 1.8 million to 8,347,000. The idea was just to say that our local revenue is growing at a rate that is pretty significant. Also, if you look at the beginning fund balance at the bottom, which was one of the things that I was asking yesterday, which was 107 million, it is now at $108 million. So it's a growing beginning fund balance on the capital side. And if you look all the way at the bottom where it says ending fund balance, it's at $167 million. Now, I'm not asking for Penny to come up. I don't need any explanation. It was just one of those things, and I'm going to ask later on just for a breakdown of that capital reserve budget. That's all.
Dr. Mullins, can you have that looked into for us, please? Because I think I remember the number of 6 million told to us at the
Four.
end.
It
4
was
million at the end of the meeting yesterday that was left in this fund balance. So unless you know off the top of your head, which probably not, I'm guessing you need to dig into
Penny,
that
and I
get
didn't
back to
call
us.
you and let you know. I was just doing point of clarification, so I
I
wanted
think
to.
we have a budget update this afternoon in the workshop. and
Perfect.
Okay.
We can provide some more information this afternoon.
That'd be
An
perfect.
opportunity for discussion.
I have it, so that's not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zerker. Ms. Belford, did you have comments? No, I thought I saw you lean in, sorry.
That's all. It was just a point, and then for asking for clarification later. That's all.
Ms. Belford.
Actually, I will just make one comment on that point of clarification, and great job bringing those numbers up, Matt. Thank you so much for bringing it to our attention, and certainly we do need an explanation later, but just for the public who is here today, I believe that within those funds, and one of the things that was also brought up yesterday is our sales taxes included in there. So I just don't want the public to be leaving thinking that we have this enormous amount
No.
of capital. But I think also in that conversation, it's important to note that if the sales tax goes away in 2020, this fund looks very different. And not only does this fund look very different for us, but it also means that we are going to have to lose additional dollars in our operating fund. So.
Sure. And the point of clarification was for those individuals that were worried about us taking a hit on our insurance because of a hurricane, this is where it would come from. And I wanted to prove that there were necessary reserves in order to cover the $10 million fund balance or deductible. And that was all. So this is discussions later on, but I just wanted to point out the actual numbers now for discussions later.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Susan. Is there any more discussion on F14 before we vote? Please vote on item F14. Motion passes 5-0. We will now move on to the action agenda. Dr. Mullins.
The first item is G31 on department school initiated agreements.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. McDougall, second by Ms. Belford. Any discussion? Please vote. Dr. Mullins. Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Mullins.
Next item is G32 on purchasing solicitations.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Belford, second by Ms. Campbell. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Mullins.
The next three items are policies. Each were brought forth to staff during the work session of May 14, 2019. A rule development workshop was held on May 28, 2019, giving the public its first opportunity for public comment. The policies came before the board as information items on May 28th. Today will be the second opportunity for public comment, after which time the board may take action by a vote.
We will now hold a public hearing on these policies. give me 1 second, please. Which isn't on here. I see 5120, 5120.
There it is.
Oh, right here, 8407. Okay. Do I need a gavel? Declare the public hearing is open, yeah. Okay, we are now going to hold a public hearing on the 2 policies that are on our action agenda. I declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone who has come to address Board Policy 8407, Safe School Officers? Is there anyone here that has come to address Board Policy 8407, Safe School Officers? Being no comments, what are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Susan, second by Ms. Belford. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. We'll move on to the next policy. Is there anyone here that's come to make public comments on 8406, report of suspicious activity and potential threats to schools, facilities, students, and employees? Is there anyone here that has come to make public comments concerning 8406, report of suspicious activity and potential threats to schools, facilities, students, and employees? There being no public comments, what are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Campbell, second by Mr. Susan. Any discussion? Please vote. This concludes the public hearing portion. Oh, I only have 2520. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Our last policy this morning is School Board Policy 2520. Is there anyone here that has come to address Policy 2520, selection of instructional materials and equipment, objections, and requests for reconsideration? Is there anyone here that has come to address Policy 2520, selection of instructional materials and equipment, objections, and requests for reconsideration? There being no public comments, what are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Campbell, second by Mr. Susan. Is there any board discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. This concludes the public hearing portion of our meeting. We will now move on to the information agenda, which includes items for board review and we brought back for action at a later meeting. No action will be taken on these items this morning. Dr. Mullins.
There are 10 items under the information category.
Does any member wish to discuss any of these information items? Okay, we are now on to board member reports and discussion points. Ms. Campbell would like to have some discussion on the Palm Bay Youth Advisory Council. Ms. Campbell.
So last week, I received a letter from the city of Palm Bay, and under the leadership of Councilman Kenny Johnson, they have passed ordinance number 2018-69, which creates a youth advisory board for the city of Palm Bay. And the purpose is to provide a youth perspective on issues relevant to the city council and to facilitate the involvement of young people in the government process, basically getting them started at that young age. And you have attached to the agenda, I believe, the ordinance, and it describes the students that are going to be allowed, the qualifications, and I believe they've chosen all those students. But as part of the advisory board, they have a few advisory positions. Councilman Johnson will be there as a non-voting member, but they also would like to have a school board representative, and they invited me to do that. But we usually do that by discussion, and so that's my area. It's also part of Palm Bay is Tina's area too. So just wanted to put that out there and just let you know that that's, if we can kind of get a thumbs up from everybody, I would love, I'm so excited to be a part of this. And we were supposed to start this evening, but I believe it's actually going to be put off till July for them to get it started. But again, a non-voting member just as an advisory position.
Does anyone have any concerns with Ms. Campbell representing us on the Palm Bay Youth Advisory Board? It's awesome. I think it's great.
I think it's an amazing thing. Palm Bay leads the when we go out to do like jobs programs and everything else, Palm Bay leads the county as far as cities taking initiative. And a lot of hats off to that organization. I actually took that ordinance, forwarded it to my city managers of Melbourne, Rockledge, and then Kurt Smith, and said, if you guys wanted to start like something like this would be an amazing thing. Great job. I mean, all the credit goes to you and them for what they're doing down there as far as trying to get our youth involved.
Well, I'll leave all the credit with the city council, but I want to just mention that Councilman Johnson is a product of Brevard Public Schools, and his parents are both teachers in our schools, and, he's only 25. Sorry, Kenny, if I got that wrong. And I think he's an example of how youth getting involved at an early age. He's really encouraging people as such a young person to get involved in city government and to move forward. And so, to see that we might have some more young people get involved and not be turned off. So much of what we have going in politics these days really turns young people off, and to try to turn them on by giving them a voice and letting them get involved and see what it really looks like from the inside out, I think is important.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Our next item is our membership to the Florida School Board Association. Let's see, we need to make a determination on whether or not which members want to join the association this year. This past year, 4 of us belonged to the organization. We have our invoice here. It is a cost of $4,612.60 per member to be a member. So Pam needs to go ahead to pay the invoice on who wants to be a member. I, again, this year choose not to join, so that's -1.
All right.
How do the other 4 want to direct Pam?
FSBA provides important professional development and opportunities to communicate with our legislature. And I know for myself, it's provided a mentorship program with a school board member from Osceola. And so I intend to continue this next year.
Okay, Ms. Campbell, Pam, you got that? Mr. Susan?
Yep, just got elected to their board of directors, so we're good.
So you
Can't
have-
really
you have no
back out
choice?
After I got elected, be kind of off, so.
Ms.
good
Belford?
there.
I too am once again appointed as legislative liaison, advocacy liaison, and federal relations liaison, so I probably need to continue that.
Thank you all
That
for taking
membership.
leadership roles in the organization. Ms. McDougall?
I would like to continue my membership. It's been very valuable and helpful at mentoring and also personal growth and knowledge, so it's been very helpful, yes.
Okay, Pam, does that give you what you need? Great.
Pam, while we're on the topic of FSBA, they're requesting that we submit to them our appointees. I think for legislative and federal relations, I was lead and Matt was backup, and for board of directors, Matt was lead and I was backup. So if we could just send that over to them, if you all are in agreement with that?
Yes.
No request for changes on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay, that,
Got one thing.
Ms. Enval?
Just wanted to remind you that if you are going to be traveling for FSBA or any other purposes, under the new statute starting July 1st, under section 1001.39, it requires that school board members that travel outside the district are requesting that reimbursement for travel expense in excess of $500 obtain approval from the school board that the travel is for official school board business and that it complies with the rules of the State Board of Education. So that's going to change some of your travel plans. They can't be made as quickly because you just need to have school board approval, and that won't be a superintendent item. That will be a school board item. So just keep that in mind. Pam and I are working on a sample form for you to fill out, but just remember that is a requirement as of for any travel after July 1st.
Thank you, Ms. Enval. Pam, that's going to require you to be super diligent with us when we ignore your emails. Keep harassing. Thank you. Dr. Mullins, do you have anything that you would like to report on?
Can I?
Ms. Deskovich and board.
Excuse me, Dr. Mullins.
No,
Mr.
I was
Susan has one
after
more
him.
comment.
I can go after him if you
Go
want.
ahead. No, we wrap up the board reports first.
So I just wanted to make it clear that I had some follow-up data that I'd like to get back, and we can talk about it in the thing, but no rush on it. But I would like to follow up with the instructional, lost, retired, and transferred, and everybody that's in instructional from last year total numbers. I would like to get the capital fund balance breakout, which sounds like we're going to get that later on today. I would also like to get the lapsed salary breakdown in relation to when somebody doesn't fill the positions, the vacant positions, how much money was saved there. And I would also, and that's good enough. So it's just clarification of what I needed to go back through it. Lapsed cost of vacancies, lapsed cost breakdown of not only retired, but also every other instructional position that's been in there, and a capital fund balance breakout.
Okay.
So,
Dr.
sounds like
Mo-
we're working on it, but I did want to make it official.
Dr. Mullins, you've got those three. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have anything to report, Dr. Mullins?
Just that there have been some questions on next, what follows yesterday's meeting, and I've asked Dr. Theddy to come and just provide a brief update.
Good morning, Mrs. Deskovich, board members, Dr. Mullins. Thank you for giving me a brief opportunity to talk with you this morning. My team and I have been working to see what we can do to assist and facilitate the BFT with reaching the teachers to conduct a ratification vote. In recognition that it is summertime and they do not have easy access to teachers, in an effort to support our teachers, I wanted to update you and let you know that the BFT is welcome to use the communication tools and resources at the district that they don't traditionally use to help facilitate this process. Some of the tools that we've looked at and considered include robocalls. GCR is looking in to make sure that that's a possibility to isolate teachers and send out a call to teachers. District email, access to teacher mailing lists, BPS social media, obviously communication with principals to facilitate having the schools open and on the date and time that a vote may occur. I look forward to working with the BFT cooperatively with Mr. Clucci and Mrs. Skipper to facilitate this process.
Thank you so much, Dr. Theddy. I didn't even know that was on the table, so I appreciate the willingness to work. Obviously, we as the board want to get money in the hands of teachers as soon as we can, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr.
Can I
Mullins?
ask just a follow-up question, just around the amount of time? I know we've already done this vote with 1010, but about how much time from, is there, once a date is set that has to be given as far as the amount of notice and just preparation before that can be done?
So there are some things that have to be done before the BFT can even take it out to a vote. We have to package up all the TAs and the language from yesterday and put it together. I've spoken with Mr. Clucci about that this morning. So that will ultimately become what they vote on. They need time to be able to put all of that together, along with getting their membership available to vote. So we want to help facilitate that process. It does take a little bit of time.
Okay, thank you.
Any more comments for Dr. Theddy? Dr. Mullins, do you have anything else to report? Thank you. The next school board meeting will be July 9th, 2019, and will convene at 9:30 a.m. There'll be a workshop in the superintendent's conference room today at 1 p.m. There being no further business, this meeting is now adjourned.